I told the love of my life that I have a kid after 10 years of our marriage. She destroyed my life when she heard it. This is one of those stories you read on the internet and think, thank fuck that's not me. But here I am, living it. My name's Dithey. I'm from a tiny village in Northern Ireland, and this whole thing started when I met Aisling. She was my everything, brilliant, beautiful, the kind of woman who lights up a room just by being in it. We got married 10 years ago, and for a long time, life was perfect. Or so I thought. But here's the kicker. Before I met Aisling, I had a fling with a girl named Evelyn. It was nothing serious, just a bit of fun during a summer holiday. We went our separate ways, and I thought that was the end of it. Fast forward a year later, I get a letter saying Evelyn was pregnant, and the kid was mine. I freaked out. I was young, stupid, and completely unprepared to be a father. Evelyn wanted nothing from me. She just thought I should know. So I did what any terrified 20-year-old would do. I buried it. Deep. It wasn't that I didn't care about the kid. I was just scared. Life moved on, and then I met Aisling. For a decade, I kept my secret buried. But guilt has a way of festering. One night, after a few too many pints, I decided to come clean. I figured Aisling would understand. We'd built a life together. We had a house, friends, everything. I was so wrong. We were sitting on the couch, and I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. Aisling, I started, there's something I need to tell you. She looked at me with those big green eyes, concerned. What is it, love? She asked. And then it all came out. I told her about Evelyn, the kid, how I had been too scared to say anything. Her face went pale, and she just stared at me, speechless. You've had a child this whole time, and you never thought to tell me? Her voice was eerily calm, which was worse than if she had screamed. The next few days were hell. Aisling wouldn't look at me, wouldn't speak to me. She moved into the guest room and left me to stew in my own regret. I thought she just needed time to process, but every day that passed felt like another nail in the coffin of our marriage. I tried to talk to her, to explain my side, but she wasn't having any of it. You lied to me for 10 years, Dithey, she said coldly. What else haven't you told me? I tried to assure her there were no more secrets, but she wasn't convinced. Then she dropped the bombshell. I want to meet your child, she said one evening out of nowhere. My heart sank. I hadn't been in touch with Evelyn or the kid since that initial letter. I didn't even know where they were, but Aisling was insistent. Fine, I said. I'll find them. I spent hours searching online, reaching out to old friends, doing everything I could to track down Evelyn. Finally, I found her on Facebook. She was living in Dublin with her daughter, Saoirse. I messaged her, explained the situation, and she agreed to meet us. The drive to Dublin was the longest 3 hours of my life. Aisling was silent the entire way, her anger palpable. When we finally arrived, Evelyn was there, and so was Saoirse. She was 10, with my eyes, and Evelyn's smile. Seeing her was like a punch to the gut. Dithey, Evelyn said, nodding in greeting. This must be Aisling. Aisling forced a smile, but I could see the turmoil behind her eyes. Meeting Saoirse was surreal. She was shy, clinging to Evelyn's side. I wanted to hug her, tell her everything, but I knew I had no right. Aisling, on the other hand, was trying to be polite, but I could see she was struggling. We sat in a cafe, awkwardly making small talk. Evelyn was surprisingly understanding. I never wanted to complicate your life, she said. I just thought you should know. Saoirse didn't say much, just kept looking at me with those wide, curious eyes. Aisling finally broke. How could you keep this from me, Dithey? She demanded, her voice shaking. How could you lie to me for so long? The whole cafe went silent, and I felt a dozen pairs of eyes on us. I tried to explain, to apologize, but it all sounded hollow. Aisling was having none of it. She stood up abruptly. I need some air, she said, storming out. I followed her, but she turned on me. You've ruined everything, she hissed. I don't even know who you are anymore. I watched her walk away, feeling completely helpless. When I went back inside, Evelyn and Saoirse were gone. They'd left a note on the table. "We'll be in touch." Back home, things went from bad to worse. Iceland couldn't forgive me. Every conversation ended in a fight. "You lied about something so huge, Dithie," she kept saying. "How can I ever trust you again?" I didn't have an answer. I tried to give her space, to show her I was still the man she married, but it felt like a losing battle. She started spending more time out of the house, staying with friends, avoiding me. Then, one night, she dropped another bombshell. "I want a divorce," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't do this anymore." I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. "Please, Iceland," I begged. "We can work through this." But she was resolute. "I need to think about my own happiness, Dithie," she said, "and right now I can't find that with you." The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers and paperwork. We divided up our life together, piece by piece. It was the most painful thing I've ever gone through. Iceland moved out, and suddenly the house felt unbearably empty. With Iceland gone, I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. I tried to reach out to Evelyn and Saoirse to build some kind of relationship with my daughter, but Evelyn was wary. "You've been absent for 10 years, Dithie," she said. "It's going to take time." I started seeing a therapist, trying to unpack all the guilt and regret I'd been carrying. It helped a little. But nothing could fill the void Iceland left. Friends and family tried to be supportive, but I could see the pity in their eyes. One evening, I got a call from Saoirse. "Hi, Dad," she said shyly. My heart leapt. We started talking regularly, getting to know each other. She was a bright kid, full of questions and curiosity. Slowly, I began to feel a glimmer of hope. Months passed, and I found a new routine. I threw myself into work, trying to stay busy. Iceland and I didn't speak much, but I knew she was moving on with her life. She deserved happiness, even if it wasn't with me. One day, out of the blue, I got a text from Iceland. "Can we talk?" My heart pounded as I read it. We met up at a quiet pub, and for the first time in months, we had a real conversation. She told me about her new life, and I told her about my efforts to connect with Saoirse. "I'm not saying we can fix everything," she said, "but maybe we can try to be friends." It wasn't what I wanted, but it was a start. So here I am, still trying to piece my life back together. It's been a hell of a journey, and I've learned some hard lessons along the way. If there's one thing I can say, it's this. Secrets have a way of coming out, and when they do, they can destroy everything you hold dear. So, if you're sitting on something big, don't wait. Be honest, even if it's scary, because the alternative, it's so much worse.